Netherlands, there's a long tradition of resettling refugees. After the Second World War, thousands of displaced persons from Eastern Europe were welcomed. In 1956, refugees from Hungary were resettled, followed by refugees from Chile, Vietnam and Iran. And refugees from many other countries followed. Since 1984, the Dutch government works with a quota to resettle refugees. Currently, the quota is 2,000 refugees every 4 years. So, the Netherlands resettles approximately 500 refugees each year. Most of them, around 400, are selected during selection missions. The other 100 places are filled by what's known as dossier cases. These often concern vulnerable refugees, such as women and children at risk, and refugees with medical needs or immediate safety concerns. Each year, the Dutch government organises several selection missions to camps or cities with large refugee populations around the world. The Dutch authorities, in consultation with UNHCR, decide where the selection missions take place. This decision is based on the projected global resettlement needs, as well as developments within the EU with regard to resettlement. During the selection missions, several governmental agencies are involved.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the transit center of Kigoma. You have different interviews.
Leo kutakuwa na mazungumzo ya aina 4.
You will speak to the Dutch Immigration Service.
Kwanza kabisa mtakuwa na mazungumzo na watu wa uhamiaji.
Then you will also have an interview with the ladies of the Central Dutch Organization for the Reception of Refugees. And finally, you will also speak to our doctor, and he will give you a physical examination, and he will ask you questions about your general health.
The Central Agency for the Reception of Asylum Seekers, COA for short, collects information about work, study, language and current living conditions. The COA staff members also take stock of the person's knowledge of Dutch society and provide an indication of the possibilities for integration. During the selection mission, the Dutch Immigration Service decide if refugees will be resettled in the Netherlands or not. To be admitted, the refugee should qualify for an asylum status based on the National Aliens Act. Before resettling in the Netherlands, over a period of 6 months, the refugees will receive 3 times a 4-day cultural orientation training given by COA. For dossier cases, where possible, COA gives the cultural orientation training via Skype. This training programme focuses on the skills that are important for participation in the Dutch society. The refugees start learning the Dutch language, and other topics will be addressed such as budgeting, how to make contact with others, how to use modern facilities in and around the house, and public transport. During each session, the level of detail of the information increases. The first training week primarily deals with the Netherlands. The second training focuses on the specific municipality where the refugee will live. And the third week deals with the refugee's future home and how to get around the house, find their way and engage with neighbours. Over the 12 days of cultural orientation training, the following topics are addressed: pre-departure and post-arrival assistance, values, rights and duties, study possibilities, labour market and job searching, budgeting, politics and Dutch history, understanding the education, healthcare and legal systems, and Dutch language skills. The progress of all the activities is monitored by the trainers and collected in the personnel file, which has been developed together with the local authorities. The file is also supplemented with observations and recommendations for municipalities and support organisations in the Netherlands. 6 months after their selection in the country of refuge, resettled refugees arrive in the Netherlands at Schiphol Airport. They are welcomed by the same COA trainers from the cultural orientation sessions and transferred to a hotel nearby to complete the arrival procedures. The resettled refugees will complete their arrival procedures at the Immigration Service, the Aliens Police, the Haarlemmermeer Municipality and the Municipal Health Service within 48 hours. During the arrival procedure, resettled refugees receive their refugee status, undergo biometric screening, register in the Municipal Personal Records database, and are screened for tuberculosis. An ID card will be sent to their new home within a week. The whole process is supervised by COA staff members. A resettled refugee who has personally experienced this procedure is available as a mentor. He or she can answer questions and explain procedures in the refugee's own language. Once all the procedures have been completed, the COA staff members will accompany the resettled refugees to their new municipality. Each municipality in the Netherlands is obliged by law to allocate a small percentage of their social housing to refugees, including resettled refugees. Refugees are not allowed to refuse the housing they are offered. Arriving at the municipality, the resettled refugees are welcomed by officials and staff members of support organisations, usually the local branch of the Dutch Council for Refugees. The arriving refugees already know where they will be resettled. During the cultural orientation training, they've seen pictures of their new house.
We kwamen op 13 december 2011 naar Sittard. We kwamen naar een woning en dat was alles geregeld. Alle mobielen, alle bedekken, dat was klaar zijn. We waren blij.
The municipalities will provide housing with basic furniture. They're also responsible for organising social guidance, practical information and personal support for refugees. In most cases, the municipality engages the local branch of the Dutch Council for Refugees to carry out this task. Volunteers for the Dutch Council for Refugees are trained and professionals coordinate their work. Each refugee has a personal contact person. They provide advice and guidance. For example, they will provide information on safety issues around the house, financial management and public transport. The volunteers will also introduce them to their neighbours and show them round the municipality, useful shops and help enrolling children in school. The Dutch Council for Refugees also helps with registering at the local doctor and dentist. The local doctor receives the medical information that has been collected during the selection mission and, if necessary, refers to a specialist. The Public Health Service invites children to examine their general health, growth and development and check if they have received all the necessary vaccinations. They discuss any issues with the parents or carers and provide information and advice. The first step that is necessary for refugees to rebuild their lives is learning the Dutch language. For this, resettled refugees can enroll in integration courses. They are obliged to pass the official civic integration exam within 3 years. The main part of the exam consists of Dutch language proficiency. You must be able to speak, write, read and understand Dutch on a certain level, but also gain knowledge about Dutch society and the Dutch labour market. Refugees can apply for a loan of a maximum of €10,000 to cover the cost of their language tuition. The loan will be paid directly to the language provider, and when refugees pass the civic integration exam, the loan will be changed into a gift. Refugees can choose themselves which courses they want to follow, taking into account their educational background, skills and learning capabilities.
Zullen wij vanavond wat gaan eten?
Prima. Tot morgen. Gezellig. Oké.
Je zit heel gezellig en heel goed.
Hebben jullie eerst Engels geleerd?
Ik was 6 jaar oud toen ik naar Nepal kwam, als Bhutan. En daar heb ik in Engels gestudeerd.
Nee, als ik lesgeef aan mensen, dan heb ik het idee dat Nederlands moeilijker is dan Engels. De Nederlandse grammatica is moeilijker dan de Engelse.
One of the language course providers is the Dutch Council for Refugees. They also work with language buddies to provide additional support in learning the language. The next step can be studying or vocational training. For higher educated refugees, in many cases it's recommended to go back to university or college, even if they already have a diploma. in order to re-qualify and have a recognisable diploma for the Dutch labour market. The Foundation for Refugee Students UAF supports refugees with the preparation of their studies and will give advice on suitable language and preparation courses. For example, the FASFU programme.
In Myanmar, because of some difficulties, we can do a lot of practical. So we have only theoretical knowledge, and here we need to more think about the content and form your own opinion.
The FASFU is a foundation year for international students, including refugee students. They come from their own country with a diploma from high school or secondary school, but that diploma is not always sufficient to study at a Dutch university. Every student who completes our program successfully is admitted to the university and is a success by itself, because without our program they would not study.
I would definitely advise other students who have the same situation like me to follow FASFU program. Studying together with people from different countries but have the same dream and have the same situation really motivate me.
Finding a job is an important part of the integration process, but it may take time. Finding a paid position is not always possible. Voluntary work can therefore be a first step towards paid employment.
Wat we doen is het uitvoeren van die taken om mensen dat onderkomen te bieden. Maar het is minstens zo belangrijk dat je ze ook goed kunt laten integreren en dat ze participeren in de stad, in de samenleving. En daar willen wij als gemeente ook nog eens een extra stimulans aan geven. Sport, onderwijs, maatschappelijk leven. Mensen moeten meedoen en zich thuis voelen.
Ja, ik doe nu vrijwilligers bij de bejaardenhuis. Woensdagsmiddag. Ja, die heet speelmiddag. Ik heb al gestudeerd tot civiel ingenieur. Ik moet een hoger niveau voor de taal te leren. Ja, dat is belangrijk. Ja, om goed werk te krijgen. Maar nu ben ik op zoek naar het werk. De gemeente ook helpt mij om een geschikt soort werk voor mij te vinden.
So what makes the process of resettlement to the Netherlands special? The Dutch Immigration Service selects resettled refugees during missions, but also accepts dossier cases of vulnerable refugees such as women and children at risk, refugees with medical needs or immediate safety concerns. Resettled refugees receive cultural orientation training before arrival in the Netherlands. The information is tailored to their new living environment. Refugees are prepared for living in the Netherlands and know what to expect. Within 48 hours after arriving in the Netherlands, resettled refugees receive their refugee status, undergo biometric screening, register in the Municipal Personal Record database and are tested for TB. An ID card will be sent to their new home within a week. Municipalities are obliged to provide social housing for refugees and will organise social guidance for refugees. By sharing information about the refugees' background, municipalities are better prepared to receive refugees. Refugees receive personal support from the Dutch Council for Refugees to help them settle into their new environment and integrate in society. A loan of €10,000 is available for the language and integration courses that will be turned into a gift after successful completion of the civic integration exam. The Foundation for Refugee Students, UAF, supports assistance for higher educated refugees to continue their higher education. A Dutch degree increases their chances in the labour market. Refugees are supported with building a social network and finding work. Voluntary work can be a first step towards paid employment. Close cooperation between UNHCR, Immigration Services, COA, the International Organization for Migration, local authorities, Dutch Council for Refugees, UAF, volunteers and other actors is essential for an effective resettlement programme in the Netherlands.